And good afternoon and hello. Welcome to Get a Grip with Coach Elix. I'm your host, Coach Elix, and with me, my amazing co-host,
Stephen F. How's that?
Stephen F. Masek,
That's
Stephen the
right.
Medium. And how are you today, Stephen?
Excellent.
It's
I'm really
great.
good.
How could you
Yeah,
not be? It's Friday. It's
really good.
beautiful. And Stephen, we get to have our producer back, Mark Clark, who, decided to take a nice vacation and get away to New York City. He was
Yes.
babysitting some kitties. So welcome back, Mr. Clark.
Yes.
And even though I will say we just talked about this last week, I actually thought that Jim, our general manager, was producing the show, but he was Dave, and he did an incredible job. So, he only let me know at the very end of the show. So, kudos, job well done, Mr. Dave. We look forward to having you back anytime.
It's
Steven,
amazing how we had no idea it was him.
No idea whatsoever. And if you're joining us in the live stream, I see Denise. Denise, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Keep coming. Today we are going to have another open forum conversation. There's plenty happening in the world. There's plenty happening in the country. So there's plenty that we could be talking about. So it's really an open forum, and I call it our voices unheard. But the truth is, we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. And if you're joining us through the live stream, you can let us know if there's anything specifically you want to talk about, and our job is to follow the lead. Follow your lead.
We can talk about Jackson.
Yeah, well, that's I was gonna say, and if there's nothing you want to talk about, believe me, Stephen Masek has plenty to share with you, and one of those things is Jackson. Tell people about Jackson.
Well, you know what? Before I tell you about Jackson, I just want to give a big shout out to our such wonderful, wonderful friends. Lily Kelly is graduating today at Bridgewater State University.
Yay.
And her mom, Jen, these two, you don't get any better than Jen and Lily. And we just found out less than 2 weeks prior to the graduation. So I had readings today, and I mean, you were doing a training. So we're so sad we couldn't get to the graduation, but we wanted to just give a shout out to congratulations, Lily. Wow, what an accomplishment of graduating. So big hugs to the two of you. Yes, we love yes. Lily and Kelly. We love Lily and Jen.
Who's Kelly?
Yes, your last name.
Oh, okay. I was going to say.
Or we can make it a threesome and just say Lily, Jen, and Kelly. I don't know. I mean, we love them all. We just love the family, so which is good. Yeah. So Jackson
and Lily, we're waiting for our bracelets, our brand new bracelets that say Steelix.
Yes,
that's our brand. Steelix is our brand.
Well, it said Steelix, and the other one was Club Cafe.
Right, both.
Yes.
Both quite meaningful.
Yes,
to us.
Yes.
So
yes.
So what? So tell us about Jackson, because this is something that you have to share with people.
Well, I mean, I think I've already shared with people on this show. I know I share it every time I'm in any kind of social media or what have you. But Jackson is our pet wild turkey. So it's been like over a month now, Felix, that Jackson appeared by himself, and he just is with us almost every day. Even though there's days that he takes off for a couple of days, and I have to have a talking to him, like, listen, like, bro, if you're gonna leave for a couple of days and I don't know where you are, you gotta let me know. Like, you gotta leave a note or something, right? Because I worry about Jackson. So this morning, Elix was woken up to.
Yeah, he's not quiet. He is loud.
Oh, man.
With the windows open, you can't help but hear his loudness all over the yard.
But we heard him last night too, right before he was getting ready to fly up to a tree to go night. So,
But I tell you though, if you know Steven, you know what I'm gonna say. If you don't, I'm telling you, you just imagine it's not easy. It's not easy. If Jackson doesn't show up for a day, Steven goes into hysterics. And I mean, seriously, if he walks near the road, oh my God, it's like crazy managing his anxiety, which increases my anxiety. And Jackson is doing quite well. He just, I reminded Steven today, look, he's got 30-something acres of conservation land in the back of the house. So he goes and does his thing, and he comes back whenever the hell he feel like coming back.
And
He's got a life of his own.
Just hangs. I took a really beautiful video this morning of him in our driveway in like the front yard. So he does. He just hangs. And listen, it's genetic. My grandfather, my mom's dad, I'm him. He was an animal person. I never met him, but from stories from my mom and her sisters, he was, he found a dog that got hit by a car and couldn't walk on his back legs. So Grandpa Frederick, that's my middle name, put two wood, I don't know, stilts. I don't know what the hell you'd call them, and
Stilts.
And kept
seriously.
Like, well, you know what I mean, like those like wood, I guess, pieces of wood to try to get his legs back, and they adopted him. They called him Blackie, and there's actually a picture with Grandpa Fred and Blackie, and they healed. But the problem is, my grandfather was not a vet, so when they healed, my mother and her three sisters would say that like everyone in the neighborhood knew Blackie because he walked like a seal. His back legs were so bow-legged because that's how they healed. But he did, and your dad was the same exact way.
Exactly the same, and it's interesting because years and years later, actually, when he got sick, he eventually told my mom, or maybe his brother told my mom, maybe after he passed, I can't remember, told my mom that all those dogs that he would bring to the house, that there were some dogs that he actually would tell my mom, somebody abandoned the dog in front of our home. So he had no choice but to bring him in. And later on, we learned that was not the truth. He found the dogs and brought them home, and so that my mom wouldn't complain or yell at him, he would just tell her, somebody just abandoned the dog at the house. But he had a farm also, and when he retired, I mean, he spent his entire day in the backyard with the farm, all of his animals. But like your grandfather, he was definitely very connected to animals, and actually, Stephen, even to the spirit world, because I remember my father, before I even knew what Reiki was, I remember my father talking about healing with energy, and he would put his hands in the animal. If somebody was sick, he would just use his hands. And I remember actually asking him one time, like, what was he doing? And he would tell me, I'm healing. I'm using my energy to heal the animal. So it's interesting. The universe really works in mysterious ways.
I remember sometimes that when one of the dogs was having a problem with his leg, that I would see your father have this concoction that I thought he bought from a store, but no, he made it himself, and he would be, just putting it on his hands and just rubbing it all over the dog. And for God's sakes, I mean, those dogs got better, right?
Of course. I mean, he healed them. He
did. There's no question. He was, and the cool thing about your house, the farm was at Elix's parents' house, and it was very rare for, especially in Ponce, where Elix is from, to have these yards that are really big. And your parents just had this huge yard that just went so far, it just kept going. Yeah, and he had, you'd look and see, I mean, there was just chickens and roosters and dogs and cats, and it really was like a farm that he absolutely loved.
Yeah, and when you first started going to Puerto Rico, you learned to wake up with the roosters in the morning, and at
I
first you
did.
were like, "What the hell is going on?" But then it became music to your ears.
It did. I missed.
So
I missed it. Like if I didn't hear it, I listen. This is. I'm a Providence boy, right in the city. So there was no roosters I was waking up to. So when I went to Puerto Rico, it was just pretty amazing. And you know what? To at least let me get this in. My grandpa Fred used to always say one of his several phrases was, "If you don't like animals, you're not a good person." I have said that a million times, and a million times I believe it. So
and
just saying.
you are absolutely right. Listen, there's a few people on the live stream that I want to shout out. Susan Dame
Hi,
Croaks,
Croaksies.
and she loves the turkey. And Dennis and Marie Pepin, they're listening.
Hey,
Hello,
Marie and
Dennis.
Dennis.
Hello, hello. And I think it was Dennis who said, of course, they're called splints. Whatever he put in the animal's legs.
Didn't I thought
Still,
I said splints? Didn't I?
no, you said stilts. That's just a big difference. That is not what you said.
Yeah,
Okay.
people are listening to me thinking that Blackie is in the circus and he's way, way tall, right? I
That's
mean,
what I was gonna say. Listen, the other thing before we before we do a shout out,
thank you, Dennis.
before we take the first break, I am teaching a course on neuroscience for the Department of Mental Health. So I know a lot of the participants are tuning in to listen to our show. So a shout out to all of you, and welcome to Get a Grip with Coach Elix.
You tell me that now, so all of these people are going to think Steven's husband is nuts.
Well, yeah, I probably told them already. I
Oh,
prepare them ahead of time. But if I haven't, you did, and I'm going to at some point, talk about how crazy you are. So,
thanks. Thank
but
you.
listen, I think you know what we're gonna do, Steven. We're right at the point of taking our first break. Let's do a commercial break, and when we come back, we are gonna continue to this with this conversation. We are really simply having an open forum. So if you're on the live stream and there's something in particular you want to talk about, just put it there. You can call us 508-222-1320. And whatever you want to talk about, we're game. This is a conversation that is all about you and you and you. We'll be right back.
Stay of my life, my life.
And hello, everyone. Welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Elix. I'm your host, Coach Elix, and with me, my amazing co-host,
Stephen the Medium.
Stephen the Medium, who happens to be my amazing husband, and he speaks to that people. And today we are talking about, we're actually having an open forum, and I call it Voices Unheard. And simply because, Stephen, there is so much happening in the world, in our country, from policies that feel like we're moving backwards to the daily struggle of simply just being yourself, being ourselves, whether it's in our nation and the world. And for, a nation that claims to value freedom that doesn't always feel that way. So this conversation today on Open Forum is a conversation really for everyone, no matter your race, your gender, identity, orientation, beliefs, because if we want a better, more inclusive world, country, we have to be willing to talk about it, talk about really what's going on. So this is an opportunity to get real, get uncomfortable, and let's get heard. So I'm creating that as a context, but like I said to you, again, you and I can start by talking about anything. So,
Sure.
What's in your mind, Stephen, having said that?
What's in my mind? Where would I start?
Well, start someplace.
Well, there's just, I've no one. I don't think anyone's ever asked me that question, so my head feels like it's going to explode. Like, wow, I just get to bring up or say anything I want. So, well, you know what's on my mind, which is that took a little bit, but I'm here. When you were just talking about like that subject, this past Saturday night, Paul and Croaks, my best friends, well, Susan, who Elix just said was listening, so hopefully Susan's still listening. They came down to the
her nickname is Croaks. That's why we call
Croaks.
her Croaks. Yes.
Yes. She's been Croaks for a long time. Years and years and years ago, my best friend Paul hired his two best friends, me and Susan, to work at he was a manager of a T-shirt shop. We were young, and I don't know, some way, somehow, I said, or I think Paul said Susie Croquettes, just as like a weird thing. Yeah. And somehow, some way, the Susie Croquettes, the Susie and the Cats kind of dropped, and we just ended up with Croaks. And that's been her nickname for a while. In any case, they came down last Saturday, and we went to dinner. And talking about like the world and stuff, I had said in that conversation when we were having dinner about I've said this before. I posted this about how the universe, in spirit is always at this level of peace. And right now, this world is at such a level of anger that we've never seen before. And then I was just telling them that they can't coexist for a long period of time. And I was saying, you can feel something. I don't necessarily think you need to be a medium to feel like something. I think you just have to be like sensitive and just intuitive and know that something has to happen. Something's going to have to change because this can't keep going on. And when I was just explaining to Paul and Susan about how I'm feeling that, I just noticed both their expressions were like, wow, or almost waiting. I mean, I don't want to put words in Susan and Paul's mouth, but almost waiting like I was going to actually be very specific to say, coming up, this is what's going to happen. And I don't have that, but it's just interesting watching their expressions as I'm saying that, because I feel that every single day that something is percolating, if you will.
I would agree with you. I'm intuitive, so I feel it myself. For me, Stephen, as I'm listening to you, and I've listened, you've shared these with me before, and I get it. I get it because in the spirit world, there is no such thing as hate, or conflict, or hurt, or bad. It's just, it's just like beauty, right? Like love, I guess, for the lack of a better word. So I totally get it. And our human, the way that we coexist as human is so opposite to that. And we don't know anything any better because that's all we know. So the thing that sort of shows up for me is, if discomfort is the price of progress, are we willing to pay it? Or are we too comfortable with our own privilege? And that's a real, honestly, Stephen, I sit with that myself.
But I think you need to. I think you need to sort of explain what you're saying. I hear the words, but I think that there could be people that. Well, what exactly does that mean? How does that apply to me?
Well, it applies. Well, it may or may not apply. I mean, some people, if you think that what the world is going through currently doesn't apply to you because you have a great life, then this conversation doesn't apply to you. But if you are like many, I would even argue most people in this world who feel something is not aligned. You perhaps you're feeling with some level of fear, some level of anxiety, some level of discomfort, some level of unknown. Listen, I work for organizations that depend on government grants. So right now, they're experiencing the employees of that organization, regardless, where you stand. Many of them are experiencing unknown, anxiety, discomfort, fear, all of that because there's so much that they don't know. So if you're experiencing some level of discomfort, right? The question is discomfort what we are required to go through in order to progress, in order to get better? I happen to think that nothing absolutely extraordinary happens in the comfort zone. Nothing. So so we do need to practice the art of getting comfortable with the discomfort, because discomfort is necessary. But there are levels of discomfort, and right now the stakes for many people are high. So the question is, are we willing to, if discomfort is that price to get us to the other side, are we willing to pay it? Or are we too comfortable ourselves with our own privilege? And what I mean by that, Stephen, is, listen, there are times where I myself question, should I say something? Because despite of, the current situation, there are times, there are situations where I have plenty of privilege. So am I too comfortable to express, to raise my voice, to speak my mind, because I appreciate my own privilege as well. I don't know if, Stephen, if you understand it better, what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I do understand it better. I just wanted to make sure that people understood where that was, sort of the crust of that, where that was coming from, and what you were sort of applying it to. Yeah. I mean, you can apply it to everything, but I'm based on the conversation sort of we're having. No, I completely understand that. And I think also, though, so many things can have like a transformation in such a great way, even when you're in comfort, right? It doesn't have to be, it only happens when you have to go through the discomfort to get to blah, blah, blah. It can also be when you're very comfortable, depending on what it is, depending on your knowledge and your awareness and all of it, right? I mean, you always hear people that when someone passes away, even me, I hear it when I do readings, that the person I'm reading, has gone down this path that most likely they would not have gone down if they didn't lose their child or spouse or whoever it is. And that's absolutely true. But I realize that it's also on the flip side. You can also do that without going through that trauma or discomfort also. But
Yeah.
I mean, based on what you were talking about with with the privilege, I remember you and I were out with friends of ours, and they were talking about a house in Florida that they have, and I don't know. One of them said something about it had something to do with the LGBTQ community. And one of our friends said, and I mentioned something about Florida, and one of our friends said, when we're down there, like, we're around and with friends, no one ever talks about it. And I remember just looking and saying, well, you don't talk about it because none of you are gay. I mean, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. That doesn't mean my perspective is completely not on target. Of course it is, but I think that's part of what you're saying is that people that just don't sort of, they're in this tunnel vision and they don't look outside either side to see what they believe and how it affects others, because it doesn't affect them, and they feel like there's nobody really close to them that they'll sort of have it pushed in their face. So, and I don't mean that by any means. By even our friend was saying that as a any bad intentions or ignorant wise. It was just something. It's life, right? It's just that privilege piece.
Yeah, and it's that's what I call what you don't know, and many
Right.
people, that is something they don't know simply because they never experienced it, they never had to experience it, they don't understand it, and they don't need to understand it. So it lives in the don't know, and that's the point. I think people like us, we have a responsibility to then, perhaps educate individuals, and that's what you did, and you did it in a great way. Yeah, you don't talk about it because none of you are gay, you don't get it. So but that invited that was an invitation to have a conversation about it, and for them, after that interaction, to walk away understanding something in a way they didn't understand it before.
I mean, I hope so, because to be honest, that conversation really didn't go anywhere else after I said that. And I think, again, it's when people feel like, oh, or feel uncomfortable, like, oh, not saying I'm right or they're right, just that I didn't see that coming. It's pulling me, as you just talk about discomfort, it's pulling me out of my comfortable place into a like a discomfort environment. Yeah, I mean, I hope and cross my fingers that, yeah, just maybe even that just one comment or mini conversation did something, you know?
I believe it did. Stephen, let's take another break. And when we come back, we can continue to expand on this conversation. And if there's anything else that you guys want to bring into the conversation, this is the opportunity to do so. 508 222 1320. We'll be right back. And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Elix. I'm your host, Coach Elix, and with me, my amazing co-host,
As I was always called for many years, Attorney Masick.
Stephen the Medium, and my husband, by the way.
Yes.
Perhaps your most important title. And today we're having an open forum, an opportunity to just chat. You know, we didn't plan any kind of conversation. And so if you guys have any questions or you have any subjects you want to talk about, this is an opportunity to let us know. Anyone on the live chat, you could do that as well. And before we took a break, I actually, we've been talking about, you know, the state of the world, the country. And I made this comment about if discomfort is the price of progress, are we willing to pay it, or are we too comfortable with our own privilege? And I say that because I personally, you know, have been confronted by that conversation. And, you know, Stephen, one of the ways I've been confronted by that conversation, I mean, Stephen and I are part of the LGBTQ community. We've been married for 32 years, and we are part of the queer family. But one of the things I've realized through very close friends, our friend Lorraine, our friend Iris, both of them are trans, a part of the trans community, and they have been subject to very direct and personal and ugly attacks. In fact, my friend Iris, who lives in New York, said to me recently that she was just walking down the street and somebody just said, I could kill you right now if I wanted to, you know. And I immediately, when she shared that with me, even though we're part of the same community, I felt that there's a level of privilege I have, because when I walk around, I don't experience that necessarily, yet they do. So you know, it just confronted me with even in the discomfort, I have a responsibility. I have a responsibility to raise my voice. I have a responsibility to stand for something. I have a responsibility to really to practice just making myself known, making my stand known, even if it makes others uncomfortable. Years ago, I would have been so worried, Stephen, about what others would think. You know that. Mm-hmm. And now I don't care. I don't care. And if it means I don't get to, I mean, I'm still going to be polite and, you know, diplomatic and nice. Stephen often says way too nicer than I should be, but I'm going to be that. But I've drawn the line. You know, I don't need, if you stand in a place where I think what you believe harms me and those that I love, I'm drawing the line. You don't get to sit with me at the table. You know what I'm saying, Stephen? What are you hearing here?
Well, I mean, I think everyone's hearing exactly what you're saying. I mean, it is standing up for whatever you believe. I mean, if it's starting from your authentic place and who you are, or it's not necessarily you, it's family or friends that you know things are you know, you're standing up because they're not right. Whatever, you know, whatever the case may be, it's something that, you know, being, you know, acquiescence is just as complicit as, you know, doing something that is absolutely, you know, it's the wrong thing to do, right? I mean, we're just in a place that we've never been. You know, it's complete. This whole physical world is just completely divided, and it feels like there's no middle anymore. You have to pick a side, and you can't really be in the middle. And I think a lot of people still say they're in the middle, but they're really not. It's just a way to say things. We just experienced that a couple of days ago. Elix, both of us did with somebody.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean,
yes.
so it's you know,
How
in
did
the
he?
fear.
How? What was the expression that he used? It was
In the
not
middle.
conservative. Oh, in the middle. Okay.
Well, that's what
So
I'm saying. In the middle. That's
got it. Got
people
it.
use that expression. I think when they don't want to, for some reason, say they're on either side. They're in the middle. So, but this anger, this fear is just absolutely absurd. I was just reading as an attorney. I was reading the situation with Judge Dugan, the one that was the judge that was indicted, because she let this gentleman leave out a side door. I'm sure if you don't know this, you need to get the hell off the radio and just go look it up, because your head's somewhere. And on this radio station, I can't say what I want to say. In any case, and I looked at the 2-page indictment. It is ridiculous. From an attorney, listen, I'm not the perfect attorney. I'm not the best attorney, but at least I know 20 years of being in the court systems. I read that 2-page indictment. It is absurd. And I realized reading it that this has nothing to do with the cause of action. This indictment, it has completely all to do with fear. Just to show, if you try to step one way against us, this is what's going to happen. I mean, you don't have to be an attorney to look at that indictment. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And in any case, I bring that up because that's what we're living in. It's all intimidation, and it's fear, and it's even people that I know just will reach out to me. People that I know because I do readings will reach out to me and say, Stephen, I have so much anxiety. I'm so afraid. I've got so much fear, so much concern. I never had that before. I never had people emailing me that. So just goes to show you where we are.
Yeah, and I think that perhaps is a that fear of, oh my God, if I speak up, I'm gonna lose my privilege, is what keeps people also quiet, and I think that is something that you have to really look within and ask yourself. I mean, I do think though, Stephen, that many individuals, not for the most part, they don't think that this affects them until it does, and then when it does, it becomes something that they stand for. But that's sad, because it should be something to stand for regardless, not just when it affects you. You know what I'm saying?
Of course, I do. But I think, you know what? Listen, people even listening, people not listening, people are going to believe what they want to believe. They're going to side on whatever side they want to. They're going to argue whatever way they want to argue about where they fall in this world, in this, this atmosphere.
Yeah.
But I would just ask you to step back but look at the bigger picture. Look at the world. Look what's happened since January, when this new administration came in. Look what's happening to other countries and how so many of the left is winning. I mean, listen, just look it up. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to agree with me. Just look. And that is like these smart people seeing they don't want what we're representing right now. Canada, let me just tell you, Canada goes on a 10-year cycle. Every time a prime minister wins, generally 10 years, and then it's almost like you check your card in, and then the other side, whatever the opposite party is going to win. That's just the way politics work. It is. So when this one was coming up, right before the election, the Conservative was 27 points ahead, which made sense because it's 10 years, so that's what happens. He lost solely based on what's going on here in the USA. Completely lost because these bright citizens of Canada thought, we want that? Look what's happening. So they lost. And the same thing happened in Germany. The same thing happened in Australia. It's incredible. So it's not even like listening to me, just Google, as opposed to just having an opinion with knowing nothing and just, someone just said this to me. So, that makes sense. Yeah, I believe that. I mean, just do research. I think the whole point of this whole conversation too, Elix, is for people just to do your own research and use more than one source and not just one source to think whatever you hear from that source is correct. Just open your brain, open your mind, and take a look, and and just come from a place of just not being fearful, not just a peaceful place, and see where you land. It's I love the expression is it possible that you may just want to take a look at something to find out just maybe what you think is not necessarily true. It's that's what we are. It's exhausting. The whole subject's exhausting.
But by the way, Stephen, because of your accent,
What accent?
You're gonna say what accent? Your Rhode Island accent. When you said, look, use a different sauce. I actually thinking sauce. What kind of sauce is he talking about, and why is he bringing cooking to this conversation? And then eventually I realized,
me of all people,
exactly, that's what I was saying. You sauce, what is that? And I realized you meant source. Look up
sauce. SOURCE is sauce.
Oh my goodness!
Right? I mean,
yeah. All right. Well,
listen, that's great. That's a good thing because laughter just helps us with our energy and frequency, and just gets us into a place, even if it's really heavy, just brings us temporarily into a good place.
Yeah. So we're gonna take our last commercial break, and when we come back, Stephen, that's exactly what we're gonna do. We are going to turn this into a positive conversation, so that keep people in spite of what's going on, people can walk away inspired, empowered, and feeling good about their lives. How about that?
I love it.
Yeah, we'll be right back.
Live.
And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Helix. I'm your host, Coach Helix, and with me, my amazing co-host,
Stephen Frederick is here.
Stephen, the medium, is in the house. And Stephen, we've been having a thought-provoking conversation about the world, the current situation, both here in the United States, the country, and the world. And, we wanted to end this segment with a positive way of empowering our listeners, even those who are feeling stress, anxiety of the unknown, fear fear of what's happening, fear of what may be happening to them. So what are some things that we could offer them, Stephen, to change that narrative for themselves so that instead of focusing on the negativity, they can turn it around and make it a positive for themselves?
I love that question, and I have at least what I think a really good answer. So when I talked about how the universe and spirit world is such at peace, and I was doing that comparison, if you also step back from what I talked about, is that, well, wait a minute, you just said, Stephen, that the universe and the spirit world is at peace, right? So what better way to feel better is to connect to that world, especially if you're feeling anxiety, or even if you're just feeling like blah, just because you've got this. Every one of us has that access to this incredible energy and frequency that is of peace. And listen, if you don't want to get into meditating, I always say that, don't listen and don't listen to anyone that ever says you're not meditating right. Meditation has to be this amount of time. That is bogus. You can meditate for 30 seconds. You can meditate for a minute. You can meditate for 6 hours. It's up to you, right? You just close your eyes and you just clear the brain for a second and you get into the present. But more importantly, an easier way to do this, if you can, is just get out into nature. That is the best way to tune in. You don't even have to be intentionally focused on, I want to tap into spirit and feel some peace as I'm walking. It automatically happens. I always say the nature is the stepping stone between here and the spirit world. You're right in the middle as soon as you start walking into nature. So that is one of the greatest things. And if you've got somebody who physically can't get out, one great thing is just go out somewhere and just pick off a branch, or a flower or something that is outside, and just give it to the person. Just put it at their table next to them in a little vase or something, and that is really the same as going out and walking. You bring nature to you. So that's at least some advice.
Oh, I love that, Stephen. And one thing, as I'm listening to you, I practice, by the way, all of that. I would add that if you're feeling afraid or overwhelmed, just know this: fear is not flaw. It's not a sign that you're weak. It's, on the other hand, it's really a sign that you are alive, that you care, and that you're paying attention. And even fear is part of our day-to-day life, and it visits us on an ongoing basis. But it doesn't. You don't have to give it the power to stay and control what you do. So one thing that I would say is take a deep breath, use those things that Stephen suggested, but you could always ask yourself, what's one thing I can control right now? And do that one thing. And then tomorrow, and do the next thing right after that. And you've told me that before, because when you ask yourself, what's one thing that I can control right now, that brings you into the now. It doesn't bring you into the past. It doesn't even bring you into the future, the oh my God, what if? It brings you into the right now, which is the only thing that we can control.
Well, the control to sort of attach to what can I control, use it in motion. Look down. I've said this before. Look down at where your feet are. Immediately you get grounded. Immediately you become in the present. You just look at your feet. Where am I standing? That automatically makes your brain start thinking and processing. Where am I? Where? If my feet are standing, like right now, we're in our offices at home doing the show. So when I look at my feet, I immediately connect to this room in my office, which connects to this house, which connects to the Cape, and keeps going and going. So that's definitely something that will ground you and put you in a good place.
Yeah, I love that. And remember, and I tell these to my clients all the time. In fact, we do this exercise all the time. You are the author of your own story. And no matter how heavy, difficult the chapter may feel, you hold the pen. So write the next page with courage. Write it with power. But above all, write it believing that better days are possible if you say so, because you're the one created them. You're the one that creates, that gets to have a say as to how those days are going to be. We have the power.
And can I say one last thing?
Of
in
course.
Addition to the getting out in nature, one thing that I do, which I'm not even sure I've ever told you this, Elix, is that I don't do it every night, but there's days that are very difficult, or I'm just feeling uneasy about the world. As I'm going to sleep and close my eyes, I just think of somebody in spirit that I was close to. The last one I did was all our dogs that you and I have had, Elix, and my dogs I've had even before I met you. I close my eyes, and before I'm getting ready to go off to La La Land and sleep, I just tune into all of them and just ask them, I want to spend the entire night just with you guys. So we're going to spend, I say the day, even though it's nighttime, like just the like using your third eye, that when I go to bed all night, I'm going to be with all my beautiful, my dogs and birds and whatever pets I had, and just spending that time and loving them. You can do that I've done it with my mom. You can do it with grandma, grandfather. Just before you go into bed, it's very quickly, just say, listen, Graham, tonight, we're going to meet as soon as I fall asleep. I'm going to hold your hand, and the two of us are going to spend the entire night together, just together, laughing and just feeling good. And so what happens is the next morning when you wake up, I guarantee you there's going to be some part of your soul or heart that just feels lighter and feels good. You may smile without even knowing why you're smiling.
Wow. That's awesome, Stephen. What a great practice.
And it works.
Yeah, of course it does. So, Stephen, we are at the top of the hour. I want to remind everyone that, always remember, this conversation doesn't have to end here. We want to hear from you. Share your thoughts, share your stories, or how you're choosing to stay in power. You can connect with me at Coach Elix on social media. You can connect with Stephen. Where, Stephen?
John the Barber. So that's my side gig. Yeah, just saying.
Okay. John the Barber is going to get bombarded with, a lot of texts, and messages.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Stephen the Medium on my website and all over social media.
And always remember, together, let's keep writing a better future, one bold conversation at a time. So that's it, Stephen. Is there anything that you're up to, that you're doing, that you want to share with people, where they can see you? Those individuals that may want to book a reading with you. What's your availability? All of that stuff.
Yes. So I'm actually just looking it up right now. So June.
We have a gala coming up.
Yeah. Well, I was looking at something else too. I think June 8th. Go on my website, but June 8th, I'm in Dunn & Sons. I'm doing an event. This is a really small event, and everyone gets read. So if you're anywhere near the Cape, it always gets sold out, and it's a great, great event. Shout out to Erica and Adam, who own the facility. They own the pheasants. They're just wonderful people, so I'm doing that. But June 4th, yes, Elix and I are going to the Arts Foundation of Cape Cod Gala. It's just the biggest and best gala annually on Cape Cod. We get to go, and there's going to be a silent auction and a live auction, and I'm going to be part of the live auction. So you get to bid on me, and what you're bidding is up to 10 people at your home or in my office, whichever one you want. And I think there's a case of wine that goes with me, which spirits and spirits. That's pretty cool, right? So that's going to be a really, really great thing to bid on. And I think the night of, you can actually bid online too for the live auctions. So that's going to be really exciting.
It's going to be at the auction, you mean?
Silent auction. It's going to be at the Witchmere Beach Club.
Yes.
So take a look at that. And if you're interested in going, you better get tickets soon because I'm not sure how many tickets are left. But who doesn't want to be on be at a gala on Cape Cod? Right?
I know I'm going to be there. And if this goes well, I am going to then put you out to bid to the highest bidder because this could be good news for us. Make a lot of money.
Yeah.
I'm willing. I'll do a case of wine to go with him as well. So
to get a break from me, right?
Whomever the highest bidder is, you can have him for a day,
People will
days,
take me.
a
Just
week.
saying.
Oh no, I know people will take you. There's no question about it. But listen, we are at the top of the hour. We need to complete the show because our producer Mark is back in town, and his show is next. What's his show?
Mark's Jukebox.
Mark's Jukebox. And so you want to stay tuned, listen to Mark's music. And again, thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone at WARA 1320 AM Radio for having us. Thank you, Mark, for being back. And Stephen, have an awesome weekend.
Well, thank you. That is so sweet.
Have an awesome weekend, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.